Hey guys, this is Kim from Creative DIY Purpose and welcome to my channel. Today I'm super excited to bring you 5 simple, quick, upcycled projects. And so for the first project, I have a solid wood deep dish pedestal. And I'm just going to go through, take some fine grit sandpaper and try to get into all the little cracks and crevices. So I'm going to be applying 2 coats of Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint. And 2 coats is all it took to just give this piece full coverage. And what I did this day was I put 2 coats of paint on each one of these projects. So it's so much easier when you are just batch painting, because you just get out, 1 or 2 paintbrushes, same color paint, and I just had them all set up around the table and could just move to each piece, and it makes it so much easier. And by the time that the last project, when I was done painting that, I went in, made dinner, and then this piece was ready for its second coat. So I did put on the second coat and let it dry overnight, and then I went through and distressed it. And right at the very end, you will see me, there's the distressing, you'll see me painting the bottom because I forgot to paint the bottom. But I absolutely love this piece. I love the way that it came out, and just the possibilities are endless of the different bowl fillers that you can put in this pedestal. I believe that I paid $2 for this piece at a thrift store, and it is listed at $15.99. All right, for a second project, I have this natural wicker basket, and I love the color of it. However, it has got water spots and a lot of discoloration, so it definitely needs some cleaning and coats of paint. So what I went ahead and did is cleaned it off and applied 2 coats of Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint. And then on the inside, I did use spray paint to get a nice full coverage on it. And I'm just going in through right here and just touching it up. I did go through and lightly distress it with some sandpaper. So I thought that it needed something else. So I just grabbed a piece of muslin fabric and I'm fraying the edges. And then I'm going to grab my IOD crockery stamp. And I have to put some ink on my pad because I've been using my stamps a lot this week. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get my stamp all inked up, and I'm going to iron my piece of fabric, and then you just go ahead and iron it to set it onto the fabric. Super easy. These are so easy to use. And you just hold on to it on one side, and I need to buy one of the brayer rollers. I don't have that, so for right now, I'm just using my fingers. I did order more stamps this week, and they should be coming at the end of the week, so I'm super excited, but easy peasy. So I also wanted to add some of this natural color rope because they kind of coordinate, and I'm using E6000 to glue it onto the back, and it just makes a really cute, almost like just a country looking hanging basket. All right, guys, I have some super exciting news to share with you. Creative DIY Purpose is going to be opening an online store that will be attached to my blog, and we will be carrying secondhand and vintage treasures, along with inspirational and faith-based gifts and accessories. And there's journals and t-shirts. And there's my favorite shirt over there, Jesus in her heart and coffee in her hand. She's unstoppable. And wait till you guys see the line of eco-friendly and natural items. Guys, these are never going to end up in the landfill because they're 100% compostable and the quality is amazing. All right, so my goal is to open my store by the end of this week, but the one thing that I'm lacking is my repurposed and reimagined items. I want to make sure that I kind of have an equal amount of each collection. So my goal this week is to have at least 10 items that I'll be repurposing that I can add on the store. And I'm also going to be putting some of my items on consignment at a local marketplace. So I've really got to get motivated and moving this week and make it happen. All right, so moving on to project number 3, I made sure that I did the bottom side to this piece first, and we're going to do the same thing, add 2 coats. There's my beautiful cat. That's so funny. And we're going to add 2 coats of the Rust-Oleum linen white, just perfect coverage as always. And then I'm going to lightly distress it. And this is just a nice little wooden tray. I love it. And I did use a spray sealer for it, a water-based sealer. And I believe that I bought this tray for $2 and it is listed now for $9.99. All right, are you guys ready for a true trash to treasure project? This is it. And so many times you can go to a yard sale and just get these old cake pans for out of the free box. And that's what happened with this one. So I'm just going through with some fine grit sandpaper and I did scrub it down. I think I actually used like a magic erase. And I just want to make sure that I'm getting off, you know, any grease spots, and I just want the paint to be able to adhere really well, which it did. So here we are doing the same technique, applying 2 coats of the Rust-Oleum chalk paint in linen white, and it worked. Was no bleed through or anything. And it was so great because it added some texture. And then I decided to add little feet. This is going to be a little riser, like a patchwork. And so sorry, just ignore all the other projects that I got going on there. All right, so all I'm doing is I'm just going to take a little square and be able to mark on right where I want to be able to glue the feet. And we're just going to apply E6000 and press down each one. And then I put some weight actually on inside of the riser so that way these would adhere really well. And then I decided not to leave them natural. And all I did was take some chocolate brown acrylic paint, water it down, and apply them to the feet, the little riser feet. And then I added DIY white wax to the wood just to kind of give it an aged look. And I did apply polyacrylic to the entire piece so that way it can safely be wiped down with a damp cloth. All right, so the cost was $2 for the feet. We'll just say about 50 cents for the materials for the paint. So we put $2.50 into it, and I have it listed for $8.99. Just a real simple piece. I thought it would look nice in the kitchen with some cookbooks in it. All right, now on to our 5th and final project. I don't know what the deal with the lighting was in here. I apologize. I think I paid $1 for this little metal basket, and I'm thinking that they're going to fit 2 mason jars, and that's exactly what I ended up doing, putting in 2 really cool mason jars. And I did apply the 2 coats of the linen white to the metal basket, and now I'm just doing that onto the wide mouth mason jar lids. And apparently I had been painting all morning because I have it all over me. And then I wanted to put something on the front of the basket. So I did do one of the IOD crockery stamps like we did with one of the previous projects. And then I wanted to kind of match these lids. So I just went ahead and just used the ink pad. That way it was the same shade of black that the stamp was. And then I did spray some sealer on them and the whole entire piece, just so that way it can be wiped down with a damp cloth. And I also did the same technique right around the top rim and the bottom rim of the metal basket. So that way it all kind of coordinated. All right, so total cost for this project, I believe that the jars were $1 each. And then the basket was $1. So $3 and then a little bit for the materials, the paint, and I did put some Spanish moss in there. And I'm going to list it with the greenery and then without. So I think I have it at $8.99 without the greenery, and then $14.99 with the lamb's ear. Guys, I want to thank you so much for joining me today, and please comment below and share with me which one of these quick flip projects is your favorite. And if for more DIY inspiration, creative activities, and upcycle projects, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you get our notifications. Thanks so much, and God bless.